And this is my REDLINE Hardtail mountain bike. Yep, that was it. That was the moment. I hadn't seen her outside in years. And seeing the sun catch that candy red paint job, And in that moment, the only thing I could remember were all the good times we had back in the day. Sure, she's got old geometry and made of steel, but she's still single. Welcome back to the Dutchman's Den, everybody. I'm JT the Dusty Dutchman. And have you ever found yourself attracted to something that you know probably won't last very long, and you also know it might cause you some pain? Well, same here. And in this case, I think this is a 2009 REDLINE Monocog Flight 29er that I've owned since 2010 when it looked like this. The few things that stand out the most on this bike are probably its candy apple red paint job that I had done, the steel frame, and it's a single speed, so you only get one gear all the time. So, what are the biggest problems with this bike? Why don't I think I'm gonna ride it very often? There's a couple things. Number one, it's a hardtail. I just don't ride hardtails very often because they're hard. Two, it's old geometry, and old geometry just doesn't perform as well as some of the new stuff. And the third part is the worst part. It's a single speed, and if you've never ridden a single speed before, basically when you want to go up a hill, you don't get to shift and make it easier, so it's very difficult. And there was a time I thought that was cool. I just don't really want to work that hard anymore. But there's good news. We have upgrades. Now, I'm not going to change the fact that it's a hardtail, and I certainly am not going to change the fact that it's a single speed, but I can hopefully make this thing ride and perform a little better. Fun fact, this might be the first upgrade video that I do where I actually add weight to this bike, which I hope I don't. All right, before we tear it apart, we'll get a quick weight. It's not a very light bike because it's got a steel frame, but let's see what we get. 25.3 pounds, okay. All right, let's take this thing apart. First, we're gonna get rid of the seat because it's one of the most uncomfortable seats I ever had, and I can't explain why I never replaced it, but it sucks. Next, we'll get rid of these wheels and tires. The wheels and tires are a bit skinny for me. All right. So, taking this bottom bracket out, I was very happy that it came apart as well as it did. With an old steel frame, there's certainly a possibility for something to get stuck. So looking at these old bearings, you can see the rust discoloration on the sleeve, so I need to investigate that further and see if we just have some surface rust that needs some more grease on it. Looking at the drive side bearing, the bearing is trashed. It's real notchy, very grindy. The non-drive side feels fantastic, but time to go. Also highly recommend using a bottom bracket socket when trying to get old bottom brackets out, just because it takes so much torque. This will apply it evenly and gives you a good bite on it in comparison to something like this, where you just have a very narrow portion of the tool that engages the bearing cup and can damage it and round it out and make things very difficult. These headset bearings are completely shot. There are so many notches in it from sitting for so long, so good thing we're replacing that. Time to take these old cups out. Hopefully they're not too stuck. Got it. One of my favorite parts about single speeds is how simple they are. I mean, literally just a couple minutes to strip this thing down and it's already ready to start rebuilding. And I think we should start with the headset, and then we're gonna talk about the fork. This old girl will only accept a fork with a straight steer tube, which really limits my ability to upgrade this fork, which is a problem. So this is the Manitou fork that I just took off of here, which was apparently custom made for me back in 2015, when I thought it was cool to have an 80mm suspension fork. I was hoping to increase this to 100 or 120, which would give me some more comfort on the trails, as well as raise the front end a little bit, which will slacken the head tube angle just slightly for performance. But finding a fork with those specs for a 29er and a straight steer tube proved very difficult. However, I was able to find something pretty close that I got from a local source with some new old stock. Thanks, Ryan. Only problem with this one, it's not for a 29er, so it won't fit. But wait, there's hope. Thanks to the undefeated internet, I think I can take these two forks, put them together, and build the fork I need. And I read about it on the internet, so it's guaranteed to work. All right, here's the plan. This is the 80mm fork. I'm gonna take the lowers off of this one because it's for a 29er, and then I'm gonna put it on this one, which is my 120mm travel fork, and hopefully that will work together. Now, the last time I took a fork apart, it had elastomers inside of it. And if you know what those are, then you know how old I am. Well, it seems to function properly and all the adjustments work. And based on my before and after measurements, I think we got ourselves a 100mm travel, which is an improvement. And we get to keep the 15mm through axle. So all in all, a win. What else can we measure? All right, headset, fork, stem, all set. Next up, let's do some handlebars and grips and brakes. So for handlebars, I went with the P&W range bars, which in my opinion are the best alloy bars you can buy right now. I bought a set, put them on Sarah's bike last year and tried them out and I absolutely love them. So these get the same. When I find a set of grips that I love, I stick with them for a while and I put them on all my bikes. In this case, the P&W Loam grips in XL are my all-time favorite right now. So I'm gonna keep rocking those. Well, that's looking really good. I did end up cutting like 5-6mm off of each side of the handlebars, but they overall definitely are quite a bit wider than the old bars. And next up, we're gonna install the crank. So while I was in there, I did clean up some of that surface rust that was inside the bottom bracket, greased it up really well. So whenever I'm changing cranks, I like to take that opportunity to switch over to dub style bottom brackets and cranks. I think they're the easiest to install and easiest to figure out what you have to order for specific bikes. All right, let's put some wheels on this bike. So I had Sun Ringley Duroc 30 wheels with WTB Ranger 2.25 tires, front and rear. I wanna go as wide as possible, so I have some Duroc 35s, which is a wider rim, and then I have some Teravail tires, I think they're A-lines, and it will be 2.5 in the front and 2.3 in the back. Tan walls? Yes, tan walls. That's kind of another one of those things that I'm a little bit obsessed with. Tan wall tires, I love them. I put them on just about everything. So when it comes to seats, there's really only two brands I like, Ergon and Fabric. So I hope this one is really good. I haven't tried it yet, but being a hardtail, the perfect seat is very important. So I'm hoping that this is the one. So for the last couple of things, I'm gonna throw on this rear brake. Cut the chain down to size, check the tension. And just a couple of final tweaks. Yeah, I'm a little surprised at how much I am digging this bike right now. So let's give it a final weight and then let's stare at it for a minute. All right, let's see. Did we make it heavier or lighter? I'm guessing heavier. Or the exact same. Wow. Okay, well, that's a win. Well, all in all, I think we accomplished our goals for this build. I think it's gonna ride better, it's gonna be a little bit more comfortable, and it will definitely perform better. Unfortunately, I'm a little nervous to ride it because I certainly don't have the power or the fitness that I used to have when I used to ride this. And I think you're gonna get plenty of chances to see me suffer on this bike because over the summer, I'm gonna ride and review 4 local trail systems and I'm gonna do it on this bike. So that should be interesting. So thanks for hanging out with me today while I built this bike, but don't forget, you gotta get outside and get on your bike because good things will happen. See ya.